Here's another HGTV show. These guys are buying crappy houses in Detroit and they're fixing them up, but they're trying to use bargain tactics to get it done in a nice way. Now, we're going to take a look at what I think these guys do right that really applies to you and your business, and also what is HGTV and what is dramatized and isn't really applicable in the real world. So here we go.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Shay. We're taking Shay to go see our new house that we just purchased. So this house is 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 690 square feet.
Okay.
So it's a little smaller, but we got it for $4,000.
Oh, not bad.
The market in Detroit has picked up a lot, and it's getting pretty hard to find $1,000 houses. So $4,000 is actually a pretty good deal.
Now, don't let the $4,000 thing throw you off. I know a lot of you guys are in markets where houses are a lot more expensive than that. It's all relative. It's about what you buy a house for, construction costs, and then what you're going to be able to sell it for. And it's all about that profit number. So if you buy a house for $4,000 that's going to sell for $104,000, it's the same as buying a house for $204,000 that's going to sell for $304,000. Now, obviously, that's hoping that the construction costs are similar from place to place. But honestly, I've lived in lots of different regions and flip houses, and construction costs are pretty similar in different regions if you know what you're looking for.
Oh, my God.
Now, you look at something like that and you're like, that's disgusting. You looked at the back of the house and you looked at the inside, and I mean, there's just junk everywhere. A lot of times you find bugs, gross, like decayed food. And truly, as a real estate investor, you should be thinking that means money, because that means you're going to get a great deal on the front end, because most people are going to be turned off and scared by something like that. That means that the market of buyers gets a lot smaller. So for people who are not scared of those things, people who know that it just is a little bit of clean out and that it's just like every other house that you have to do a renovation on, well, those are the people that are going to win big in the end.
You know, if you look past everything...
You can't look past everything. It's too much stuff.
Yeah, I can look past it.
So this is the kitchen, obviously.
It'll be very similar to the house next door. In a room this small, you really have to be efficient. So I'm thinking cabinets on 2 walls and corner uppers to add more storage without overcrowding the space. Even though it's modest, I want to give it a real wow moment. So I'm imagining taking the tile backsplash all the way to the ceiling.
Now, you got to think about your heavy hitters in these houses. So they're talking about the kitchen. Obviously, kitchens and bathrooms sell houses, especially when they're in the first part of a house. Like if you have a bathroom in the back of a house or upstairs, it's not as critical as one that's right inside of the front door. But kitchens are always big winners. And so he's talking about ways that he's really going to add a lot of value to that kitchen. And, you know, I'm always talking about ways that you can save things inside of houses, but this one's so junked out that there is no other answer than to tear out that kitchen and start fresh. And these guys have great vision. And as a real estate investor, you really do need to build a vision for what something is going to look like through all the crap that's in the house. Because when you go to buy them, they're going to have the crap in the house.
Soothing warm tones, sleek simple tile, and natural wood accents on the walls throughout. It should feel very understated, elegant, and serene. And then obviously we have a lot of water damage to fix. So this whole ceiling's coming out. Obviously I'm gonna keep the couches, so. Obviously they're leather and vintage, so.
Oh, chandelier. Okay.
Right?
Fancy.
Oh, it's plastic. So we bought this house for $4,000, and if we can keep our reno budget to around $45,000 and sell it for around $85,000, then we should be able to pull out a pretty nice profit. The margins aren't great, but we've already done 3 houses on this block, and I am absolutely determined to finish what we started.
First, let's just talk about those numbers. You're talking about selling for $85,000. And when you sell a house, you're obviously going to have to pay real estate fees, real estate agent fees, and you're also going to have to pay closing costs of some sort. So I usually figure about 1% to 2% for the closing costs, and then 5 or 6% for the real estate. As a real estate investor, you're probably going to pay 5%, 2.5% each side instead of the 6% that normal homeowners might pay. So let's just say that all in all, it's going to cost you 7% to sell the house. So now instead of this $85,000, what you're really clearing, taking that 7% out, is $79,000. And he said that they bought the house for they bought the house for $4, and then they're putting $45,000 into it if they're able to stay in budget. Now, for a lot of investors, you're probably not going to use your own cash. You're probably going to borrow cash. And so you're going to pay an origination fee up front that's usually 2, 3, maybe even 4 points. And typically these are going to be higher interest loans, maybe 12% on average. So you might overall pay 10% more on your cost totally just for financing. You have $45,000 plus the $4,000, $49,000, and you might pay an extra 10%. Not only that, but they also should be getting paid as a contractor. This is probably going to take them a few months of work. It's going to have their money tied up for 6 months. Is $22,000 worth it? Now, I know that there's some intrinsic value that is tied up in all this, and I think it is great what these guys are doing. But at the end of the day, they're doing something, and if somebody's good at something and they're doing it, they ought to be paid, and they ought to be paid appropriately. And I don't think $22,000 is enough for them to get paid. I think they should get paid more for the work that they're doing.
Put your hood up. It's about to get nasty. Okay. Holy. Oh no.
That's not the best news ever. Just look at this. Nothing but roly-polies and dust.
How bad is this?
The hole in the living room is not going to help our budget issues. When we tore out the rest of the plaster, we discovered that the damage was actually a lot worse than we expected.
Oh, Evan,
What?
we have a much bigger problem. Anytime you see something start to move on an entire wall, you're like, oh, that's not good.
A carpenter ant's infestation is definitely no joke. Sort of like termites, they can chew through wood and hollow out entire boards. And if you don't take care of it, it can really become a big disaster.
Give me that. That's great. Look at that. The Zen House has definitely been a struggle, but the carpenter ants have moved out, the rotted walls are gone, and the new drywall is up. Today, we set the cabinets in the kitchen.
You know, I just can't get over the fact that these guys are really talented. I mean, they knew how to deal with these structural issues. They knew how to drywall. They know how to do siding. They made the exterior of the house look nice. They're about to put a kitchen together. I know they know how to tile and do all the finishes. Heck, they even know how to do the design and the staging at the end. And I think they truly do all this themselves, and they make great designs. And once again, going back to the $22,000 that they made on this, there are a lot of real estate investors out there or homeowners. They would pay them double to do something like this on their house and just profit. And that's without them taking the risk of actually buying the house. And that's always something to think about when you're maybe a contractor with the skills to flip houses. You might make more just by going to do this for customers without taking all that risk. And I guess what I'm really saying about that is that you should make sure that you're not just replacing your job, but you're actually getting more out of it for the risk that you're taking.
Nor, you're glancing it. So with the new drywall and the new flooring, it definitely looks like a brand new house, but as soon as we try to set those cabinets, it's apparent again that this is an old house and it's settled. The back needs to go
I'll
up.
put a bunch in the back right corner.
There's something to say about that. A lot of these old houses are sloping, and you know, it's not necessarily a structural issue. Maybe it was a structural issue in the past that has been repaired, but the house is settled or whatnot, and the floors just aren't level. And if you have that problem, you don't go put your cabinets in level to the world. As a carpenter, you have to make things work to themselves. And so you might go in there if you're checking a carpenter's work and see that, well, the cabinets aren't perfectly level, but it's about, do they look right? I mean, obviously being too out of level makes other problems, but just something for you guys to note.
We're doing the bathroom tile, we're doing the kitchen set, backsplash.
So you just have to make it work.
So the Zen House is finally done. I will say it definitely gave us about a fit. It was not super fun to get through this, but the end I am really happy with. I really like this house a lot.
This house was one of the worst we've ever done. There was
piles of trash inside. The backyard was a jungle. It took 20 dumpsters to clean up the house and the yard.
You know, the dumpster thing is something that should be noted. That is an expense that a lot of people miss when they're setting out their renovation expense on a house that they're buying. I mean, some houses do take something like 20 dumpsters. And a lot of times, if you're hiring other contractors as well, you want to basically have a dumpster on site all the time. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a big mess.
We ended up way over budget. We bought the house for $4,000. We budgeted $45,000 for the renovation costs, but ended up spending $60,000. We're listing it for $85,000, which means we'll clear a little over $20,000, but the price is pretty ambitious in this neighborhood, so we'll have to see if we can actually get it.
Come on in.
Wow. I love it. I love it.
I can see myself in here already. Oh my gosh. Oh, and this?
Yes, Keith hand painted that.
I love his painting.
When do I move in, guys? Yes, look at these cabinets.
All new cabinets.
Lord Jesus, but that's beautiful. Oh, yes. I love this. Oh my goodness.
This is
Thing. You notice it matches the wood in the living room.
Does.
Thinness.
I'm not a cook, but I learned to cook just to cook on this.
Oh, I already like the floor. Look at that.
Listen, these guys do a phenomenal job and they're really talented. But this is something for you to consider, especially if you're a real estate investor, if you're doing this for your own house, a whole different set of rules, especially in the neighborhoods that we're talking about. Doing this really nice renovation is maybe the difference between $85,000 that they're going to sell the house for and maybe $80,000. By renovating really nice, you don't push yourself that far ahead of the rest of the market. Now, of course, I don't know what he actually sold the house for, but the over renovation doesn't get you usually what it costs to do the over renovation. Now, in their case, it probably does because they're doing all the work themselves. Therefore, it's not going to cost them as much. But if you were hiring this out, it would cost you more than the $5,000 extra that you'll get on the market in this case. Now, in markets where houses sell for more, it's more of a percentage. So maybe that makes sense. But ultimately, if you renovate a house nicer than everything else in that neighborhood, you generally don't get the money back for it, in my experience. What I choose to do instead is what everybody hates, and it's the grays and the whites and the blacks that you see over and over and over again. But guys, it sells, and it's a great return on investment, and it's still a great house. If most real estate investors over renovated like these guys, they would demand so much more from the market that's the stuff that everybody hates. That's what pushes the prices in a neighborhood way higher. Now, I'm not saying that these guys are doing that. They're doing a whole different thing.
I'm gonna take my clothes off and take me a shower right now. I think I am.
So this is the main bedroom. It's the largest of the two.
Wow.
Pretty big.
oh wow, this is spacious.
This is
Yeah.
nice. Oh, and this is.
Yes, that is a Keith original.
Oh my God.
I'm saying wow in every room.
So let's look through just some of these comments really quick. These guys are my favorite on HGTV because they're not just remodeling homes, but they're helping to revitalize neighborhoods. I agree, but once again, just renovating the house and doing a basic finish is also revitalizing that neighborhood. What you mean by revitalizing is that you are making houses that are vacant and getting damaged and maybe, bringing certain people into that neighborhood, meaning, people who are vandalizing the neighborhood. You don't need to over renovate to do that. What I'm trying to help avoid here is people who are trying to get into the game of investing in real estate is to not feel like they need to make these super nice houses. They just need to make houses livable, and that really helps out neighborhoods. She says, what they do with decor on a small budget is miraculous. It seems like they feel that every house, no matter what, is humble, deserves the respect of a name and a special treatment, like a unique individual. Absolutely. It's, it is more to them than just a real estate investment. And it might be more to you guys that are watching. But for you out there that are trying to learn how to invest in real estate, I don't think it should be more than that. Or it can be, but that's like icing on the cake. The cake is definitely making houses livable and making them profitable for yourself so you can stay in the game and continue to revitalize neighborhoods. I'm going to leave it there, but I want to say one more thing. I think that you should get into real estate investing, and it is not just about the profits, but you need to make profits because you need to get paid for what you do. And you do have an opportunity to make affordable housing. And I just want to say that you don't have to be as talented as these guys. You don't have to understand design as much as these guys do. That is great what they do. But what you really need to do to make housing affordable and revitalize neighborhoods is understand how to take these houses that are unlivable and make them livable. That does not mean that you need to make them Zen houses or whatever other names. You just need to make them nice houses that are safe and livable.